Hello students, and welcome to the next lesson in our AS level psychology course. Today we're going to be looking at behavioural therapies. The behavioural explanation of psychopathology. This approach states that normal and abnormal behaviour can be learned, and we learn through operant and classical conditioning. Now, we pick up abnormal behaviours due to maladaptive behaviours that we learn. So, for example, operant conditioning is a type of learning where we learn through consequences and rewards from our actions. So if someone learns that a consequence of them hitting someone is actually a positive reward, they're going to be learning maladaptively, and this is going to result in an abnormal behaviour of someone punching everyone all the time. So behavioural therapies teach that if a behaviour can actually be learned through operant and classical conditioning, it can also be unlearned or learned differently in order to eliminate this abnormal behaviour. So, the process of a behavioural therapy is called systematic desensitization. This is a therapy used to reduce distressing levels of anxiety, for example, that of phobias, which are going to be learned through our time as we live. So, there are 3 steps we need to follow in order to implement systematic desensitization. The first of which is progressive relaxation training. In this stage, the client is taught to learn breathing exercises and to learn how to control their muscles, which is going to help control how they feel and how they can relax. After this, they have to learn reciprocal inhibition. Here, the client is trained to inhibit their anxiety response so that it doesn't conflict with their relaxation process. Then finally, they're given the anxiety hierarchy. At this stage, the client and the therapist create a list of frightening events which are going to involve their phobia. They then work out their way through the list, maintaining relaxation at each point, until their fear is eventually solved. So this is an example of how anxiety hierarchy will actually happen. After we have actually gone through reciprocal inhibition, and the client has trained so that their anxiety response can be controlled and it won't conflict with their relaxation, which they have learned through progressive relaxation training, they're going to make this list. So in this list, we've put all of these kind of events in order of least frightening to most frightening. The first of which is to examine a pic of a dog. Now, after this picture of a dog is being examined by the person who may have a phobia of dogs, they're going to begin to try and inhibit their illusion to being stressed and scared of the dog, and they're going to have to keep their relaxation at this point. Once they are cool and able to stay relaxed when examining a picture of a dog, they're going to move on to the next step, which is to see a dog in real life. They have to maintain relaxation and keep the anxiety response under control so that it won't conflict with relaxation, and they'll keep on moving past the list. So after they can control seeing a dog in real life and they can maintain their response, they're going to move on to walking next to a dog and ultimately petting a dog. Once we've actually met all of these checkpoints, we're actually going to reach to the end where we'll be able to not have this phobia anymore, and as a result, the process of systematic desensitization would have removed the phobia which we have learned, and as a result, abnormal behavior will no longer occur. Now we're going to evaluate systematic desensitization. Firstly, systematic desensitization is a robust therapy. This means that it's able to work without the client actually having to face the fear in real life. So this is pretty positive for people who have a phobia of something that's really hard to come by, and as a result, it's quite easy to treat. Also, a criticism of this is that the success rate depends on the skills of the therapist. So what this means is that if the therapist doesn't have very good skills and isn't able to teach the client how to maintain their relaxation and then be able to implement it in all of these tasks and create a valid hierarchy of anxiety kind of events, they're not going to actually cure the abnormality. Also, it can be tailored to the client. Now this, on the other hand, is a positive because the client's fear can be tailored to whatever the therapist sees fit in this situation. They can pretty much say whatever is needed to make the client feel safe and feel kind of cool around all of their fears and phobias in order to then be able to treat them. Also, it works 80% of the time, which is kind of an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage being that 80% is pretty high success rate, however, those 20% of people isn't going to work for them, and that is a bit of a problem. And finally, it can just be a placebo, which is a big problem because Phobias are something which people may think about irrationally. A phobia may not even exist, but it's just a manifestation of kind of thought processes which are happening in the mind, which is what the cognitive approach is going to suggest in the next video. Now, this pretty much states that because it's a placebo, this whole systematic desensitization process may not even work in the first place, so the success rate may fall to that 20%. Here are some questions on systematic desensitization. Have a go at answering these on another sheet of paper by pausing the video, and then press play whenever you're ready to see the answers. Here are the answers. If you got all of these right, congratulations. I'd advise you to move on to the next video, which will be on the cognitive explanation of psychopathology. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to visit the website revisealevel.co.uk or the channel if you need more information for A-level psychology. Good luck in your exams, and I'll see you then.